Hey, it's Dave Greenwood, and welcome to another edition of Overcoming Distractions, the podcast. Or if you are on YouTube, then you're watching us the video podcast. Again, it's Dave Greenwood, and I have a great guest today. His name is Ryan McCray. He is called the ADHD Nerd, and I'm going to just let Ryan take this away. And my first question is, who is the ADHD Nerd?
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me on. I'm Ryan McCray. I'm the ADHD nerd. And what I do is I help adults with ADHD be more productive and focused. And I run a website called the ADHDnerd.com. And I write about how to be more productive, more focused, get stuff done, and kind of understand how adults can really be crippled with like an undiagnosed ADHD, or they have ADHD and they don't know what the next steps are, and how to kind of either use their ADHD to help them or kind of limit the symptoms of ADHD to be more productive. Cool.
So I know on your website you've got some blogs, you've got some videos, and then I know you've got a couple books as well. So talk about some of those books. I know you have one that talks about how to kind of focus in college and what have you. But talk about your books for a couple minutes and just tell us what people can take away from those.
Yeah. So I took all my best strategies, tips, and tactics for being more productive with ADHD. One of them is conquering the calendar and getting more done. I notice a lot of ADHD people, there's this misnomer that we're like lazy because to other people, we don't get much stuff done. Maybe our house is a wreck. Maybe, in our desk at our office, like the piles just, we have like this pile for this and this pile for this and this pile. And so we kind of have this perception of like, hey man, you're not organized. You don't get stuff done. You're a space cadet. My third grade teacher called me the absent-minded professor. And, so I use that book to say, look, you aren't lazy. You are productive. It says that your mind is trying to do 20 things at the same time. What we need to do is you're spreading out all that energy and you're getting nothing done. So what we need to prioritize those tasks, take all that energy and kind of be laser focused instead of shotgun focused and do that. You would be shocked how many clients I work with. And I'm like, how often do you look at your calendar? And they're like, once a week. I'm like, no. We can't be about that life. We have to, everything needs to go in your calendar. What do you mean everything? Like your existence needs to be in that calendar. And because we need to capture all those things. ADHD, we're terrible at capturing. Terrible. And what I mean by capturing is like we get information. Our ADHD says, I'll totally remember at that time. It's like our drunk, uncle. Like, I'm totally good. It's like, you're not. You're terrible. We believe the lie, and we're like, okay, we'll remember that. And I describe ADHD as having a mind full of bulletin boards, but no pins. There's nothing to make them stick. So you remember that thing, that appointment, that project, and then it gets lost in the drift of our ADHD. That is what at the core ADHD is. We just cannot capture and maintain that information in short term, and then it's gone.
And I like that description. And when I had you in the book,
right,
Overcoming Distractions, that's one of the things that I thought really kind of stuck out. And that was a really good analogy of you got the bulletin board, you got the notes, they got to go up there somewhere, but crap, I forgot my pins.
Yeah, and people are like, I always think I'm going to remember it. Just like my friend Janice, just like Bob. I'm like, they're not like us. They don't have minds like us. Those two people are also terrible at parties, and we're great. Like, you've got like, we do a lot of comparison. Like, why am I not like this? Why am I not like this? It's just, you're just not. And so I do that. And then I have a book, Overcoming, or I talk about college. I talk about how to be better at college. I was a resident director for 9 years, and I taught college students who are ADHD how to function, because the structure of high school goes away. There's no bell that rings. There's no teacher that reminds you what's going on. You know, you're not with like the friends you grew up with for maybe 4, 8, 12 years. That's all done. You're on your, you know, you are pushed out of that nest. And so I write about how to have an ADHD college student be really successful. And I taught freshman seminar for almost 10 years. And so I saw a lot of college students just blow it. And they were bright, intelligent, well-meaning students, and college hit them like a train. And because they could not, thought they had much more free time. And they didn't realize, David, that they had less free time. And I'm like, no, like, you don't, you have to start, like, you have to plan the studying. It's not going to come to you. The book, you know, you have to do it. So, so I would do that.
Which is a valuable lesson I learned in high school.
Oh,
I mean, you know, I wrote about in the book about freshman year in high school. I went to a vocational school. I went to school for welding. You know, I've had a few careers.
me too.
So you had shop one week and classes the next week. So by the time I got back to classes, I had no idea where I had to go. I was wandering around the halls.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about, I think your specialty, and I know you've got some stuff coming out about productivity. And I think people with or with not ADHD can benefit from these, because, you know, people in business, entrepreneurs, you're in a busy office. You're always trying to find ways to be more productive or be focused. Right. But I want to jump off something that you talked about, you know, about the college thing. Did you find that when you're working with college students that had ADHD, that they knew what they wanted to do with their life? Or did you see a pattern of many of us where this guy's going to have 3, 4, 5 careers?
You know, there is that trend. So this generation of college students is faced with something very difficult that like I kind of had to deal with, but it wasn't as prominent. That careers are shifting day by day, moment by moment. So by the time they graduate college, there are jobs that no one has even conceived of waiting for them.
And that's our economy now.
Right. So, and with the internet, they can now, you know, I would teach college students how to publish a PDF and make money on it. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, you can do that. That's the internet. Like, you can, you know. And so I kind of found the entrepreneurs, and I was like, hey, you know, you want to make some side money? Here's a great way to do it. Or here's, you know, you can now through Amazon edit papers. You can do this, like teaching them the internet e-commerce world that I had no part of graduating in high school and college. Like, that wasn't, Google was just sitting on its feet. Like, that's, you know, I remember being a teacher and I'm like, man, I wish I could just order this book. And someone's like, hey, there's this new site. It's called Amazon. And I'm like, wow, that's so fascinating. And I was like, look, they sell books, and now they sell.
Dude, what a cool idea.
Like, yeah, they sell the planet now. Now it's like, you know, left-handed back scratcher, and it's like, yes, so ship it. But so what I would tell college students is, I want you to focus on skill building. So if you want to go into computer science, great. Computers still part of our lives. 20 years, I think so. But like, I want you to be the person who knows how to program in Swift. It's the Apple coding language. I want you to be the computer science guy who does XYZ. Because if you can build skills, you will profit no matter what career you go into. So don't say you're going to be this. Frame your career as if you are skilled and know this. You will have a much better life. Well, I want to major in English. Great. I want you to be the person who can write copy, you know, sales copy very well. What's sales copy? Oh, if I got news for you. Like, copywriting is a huge industry on the internet. It's how people, if it's not video, it's writing. So do that. I want to learn, you know, I want to learn video. I want you to make the best YouTube videos. for this kind of, for like an interview, you know, and so getting them to niche down and then continue to niche was better for their career than having like being the generalist, you know. So
yeah,
that's kind of my strategy in working with them.
Yeah.
And they did it. They would get it. You know, maybe not their freshman year, but by their sophomore, they'd be like, "Oh, I got it. Like the thing we talked about, I understand it." I'm like, so
yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know how my welding skills got into, you know, PR and writing books, but
right.
At least I have that skill if I need to fix, you know, my kid's bike or something.
Right. But like, for example, like I work for a technical company, and I'm fluent in American Sign Language. I do sales, fluent in American Sign Language. I worked with college students. I did a year in Afghanistan, and we're as a radiation trainer, and which I'm barely qualified for, but as an ADHD person, I did it anyway. And you would think that those skills couldn't combine. But when I started working for a tech company doing sales, I help all the deaf people who come into my store. I can talk to veterans about, you know, what it was like in Afghanistan. I can talk to college students about which computer is the best for them. Like it's okay to have those 4 or 5 careers. Eventually you start to find where they merge and what you're really good at.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. So let's talk about productivity, because I know that is one of your specialties, and I know you've got some new stuff coming out. But why, and I know we kind of scratched the surface on this, but why do you feel that those with ADHD, and again, maybe those without ADHD, I mean,
right.
why do we why does productivity suffer? And again, I know for everybody it's different, but what do you think of those kind of main kind of reasons we see the productivity kind of suffers?
Yeah. So with ADHD, we're primarily we're very inattentive and we're very impulsive. Those are and we can be hyperactive. Those are like the 3 pillars of ADHD. So I kind of focus on being inattentive and impulsive. So when it comes to productivity, we shut down for a couple of reasons when we have ADHD. One is we want to do too many things at the same time. We see a room or a desk or a calendar. If you put stuff in your calendar, please put stuff in your calendar. And we just get overwhelmed, and we're like, I can't, like, they don't know which one. It's like, how I describe my mind in that state is like being in a room with 11 4-year-olds, and they all have something else they need. Like this one has to go to the bathroom. This one's hungry. This one's angry. This one's tired. And so we just don't know like which one to do.
Which one to hit first. Yeah. You know, but which topic to, yeah.
Well, wow. We're like,
yeah.
And so what we do is we anesthetize that by like, I'm going to watch Netflix, or I'm going to, you know, I'll get to it because we're overloaded. And so we'll focus on something that takes, you know, 0 effort, and we tend to procrastinate. And what happens is we're trying to organize that in our brains. We're trying to organize all these 4-year-olds on our own. Rookie move. I call that a rookie move. So what I tell people, you know, I coach people with ADHD, and they'll say, where do I start? Where do I start? And I said, that's a great question. So, you know, Alice in Wonderland, let's start at the beginning. And I have them write down everything they need to get done. I said, all of it, dump it out. Like, it's like an episode of Hoarders in there. Like, just, you've got to move everything out of your brain because you're trying to manage it up here. And your ADHD brain is terrible at organizing at the fine points of your life. What it's great as is generating ideas and being in crisis. There's no one like us. We, you know, I wish I could do a study on how many firefighters are ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
Police officers, Like any job where you're set on random, where you don't know what your day is, those are my ADHD people.
Well, you know, I did a lot of crisis public relations earlier on in my career, and while it was incredibly nerve-wracking, I was like, it was in my wheelhouse. You know, it was you know, I saw 15 TV cameras come at me in some cases, and again, nerve-wracking, but it's like, wow, this is kind of what I do. You know?
Yeah, because your ADHD brain is like, oh, this is the priority. There's no question about it in crisis. This is what I'm doing. And your brain just laser focuses and hyper focuses. It's a wonderful thing. So I tell people, I'm like, write it all down. Just dump it all out. Play some music you already know, big sheet of paper, write it all down. And I said, and I want you to tell me how you feel after. And they're like, every time, 100%, they're like, if I thought I'd be sad, but I feel better. And I'm like, yeah, because your brain will constantly remind you, hey, pick up the milk, pick up the milk, pick up the milk, pick up the milk. Now add 20 things to that, and it's like you're in a room with 4-year-olds. So,
yeah.
And you're in a lot of trouble, you know, like they're all shouting these things at you. So then I say, you know, prioritize those. Okay. Now I want you to put them in, like, if it's 6 phone calls, I want you to do, like, I want you to asterisk all the phone calls, asterisk all the bills you have to pay, like, batch them up. Now I want you to just do the phone calls. Don't get up from the chair. Get some water, a snack, and just bang through those phone calls. And they're like, and I go, well, which one first? Well, which one's the priority? This one. I got to call the doctor. Do that one. Bang through. Then just, you know, then call me. Great. You know, I'm your last call. And they're like, oh, I can do this. And then they build that momentum of getting that stuff done. I said, you just have to know what it is.
I think it feels good to you know, look at your to-do list and have everything crossed off. I think it's relieving.
Right. Because your brain, that 4-year-old disappears. Boop. Because it's handled. You remembered the milk. It's like your brain doesn't have to tell you all the time now because you wrote it down. The other thing is remove the obstacles as quickly as you can. I have one guy, he was in grad school. He's like, you know how much reading I have to do? I'm like, I was in grad school. I do. So he says, well, how do I get more reading done? I said, how do you do it? He's like, how do I read? I'm like, well, like, where do you read? He's like, in my house, you know, I try to get as much reading done while my kids are watching, like, TV, and I'm like, no, like, that's a rookie move, man. And I said, I know you have family responsibilities, but you would be better off being all there for your family than trying to read, you know, a upper level grad school book on administration. He's like, then what do I do? I said, you can't study at home. What do you mean? You can't study at home. I said, because you're always going to be pulled towards the family needs, which is understandable. So you need to find a coffee house, and that needs to be your, like, sacred place where you study, because eventually your brain is going to recognize that place of where you study. It's kind of like when you open the fridge in your kitchen, you realize you're hungry, like, because your brain's like, this is where the food lives. I'm like, so of course, you know, or you try to study on your bed and you fall asleep. They're like, why do I fall asleep? I'm like, that's where the sleeping happens. Like it's very, your brains correlate real quick to what goes on.
Yeah, so, and I know if I have to get my son off the bus some days, and then I might work out of the house for a couple hours before dinner. I realize that if there's any type of critical tasks I need to do for clients, it's probably not a good time for me to do that, because I think any of us, you know, I got a 10-year-old in the house. He's running around. What's this? This video game doesn't work, what have you, or he's got to do homework. And then you're prone to mistakes, I think. You're prone to almost kind of stupid mistakes, yep, rather than trying to do kind of more, maybe meaningless is the wrong word, but less important tasks in those times. I think the important tasks, like you say, are meant for a place where you can shut down.
Right. So I had a ritual where when I was in Afghanistan, I would travel for 1 to 2 weeks. I would be away from my home base, and I would be out in other bases. And I always had to bring certain equipment with me. I had to bring my clothes. I had to bring my pillow. I had to bring, because like when you're at, it sounds weird, but when you're at a base and you forget something, there's not like a country store you can go to and pick it up. Like there's no like 7-Eleven, like, oh, I forgot my aspirin. Let me just run down. Like I was in pretty remote places. And so I would tell the guys I stayed with, I would be like, hey, I'm going to pack a bag. Just don't bug me. And they knew, because if I got interrupted, I forgot something. Because I would just go through this like, hey, this is what you're going to do. And it's because my ADHD fell into a rhythm of everything has to go. This is where this belongs. This is where this belongs. And I think that's how you need to treat, especially if you're doing studying and doing something like that, the ritual of paying bills, the ritual of getting studying done, the rituals of, writing. Like when I sit down to write, I open up Evernote, I play the same soundtrack, and I set a timer for 2 hours, and that tells me how much time I have. And I've done this ritual for years. And when people say, how can you write so much? How do you produce so much? I'm like, it's a ritual. It's a habit. It's a procedure. And my ADHD syncs to that. It's like, oh, it's writing time. And if I break it, now sometimes I can't write it, but at least I'll put in the soundtrack. At least I can start the timer. So I might not be in the same location, but when my ADHD brain hears that music, it's like, oh, it's writing time.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
You're getting a groove. Your brain almost starts to again, whether it's writing or what have you, you kind of get in that groove. And again, I know, I pretty much write for a living in terms of PR. I mean, they're shorter pieces. I might be ghostwriting articles for clients or press releases or writing blog posts or what have you. But, writing the book, one method that I used is the Pomodoro technique, where you set the timer for 25 minutes. You don't let anything distract you. And then it gives you a 5-minute break. And then you go back to another 25 minutes, and it's almost a game, but you're really kind of, it's a game with your own brain. You're kind of trying to compete with yourself. But I got a lot of stuff done just doing it in 25-minute increments.
Well, because our ADHD loves structure, and I know people will be like, no, it doesn't. It's like, oh, hear me, podcast listener, YouTube watcher. Your ADHD brain loves structure. You have to create it, and you have to obey it. Like, and then just just build on that. Like, yeah. So
for the business person, professional, entrepreneur that might be struggling with productivity, we got a few minutes left here, but if you had your kind of top ADHD nerd productivity, I hate the word hack, but I guess hacks, something that they could implement right after this. What would those things be? Is it batching? Is it what have you? Kind of lay out those top things that are just almost easy to implement right off the bat.
Yeah. Great question. So I would say for your entrepreneur, for your business person, just take 20 minutes, and I know that's a lot of time, but 20 minutes, and just write down those things you want to accomplish. Hey, I want to write a book. Hey, I want to be better at publicity. Hey, I need to understand what Facebook ads is about. But like those things that are really, you're missing the mark on when it comes to your business. Because the tricky thing is, like in my business, so most of it's writing. Oh yeah, I'll write all day. But do I know my numbers? Do I know how much money I bring in? Nah. I miss that, I'll just, because that doesn't sound fun, but it hurts my business on the overall. So write down those things that you're really like, ooh, this is, and I want you to you're going to make some decisions. Are you going to delegate this out? So yeah, you hate the accounting part. Are you going to delegate it out, or are you going to do it? It's either or, because you can't ditch it. You can't be like, I'm not going to do it. No. You can't, you got to do it.
No, the IRS
delegated.
You live.
Right. Yeah, we'll get you. And do taxes, superimpose two numbers, and got a $400 penalty for that about 10 years ago. Hilarious. Oh yeah, when you're 20, when you're like 29 and you get a bill from the IRS, I'm like, oh, grown-up time.
Yep.
So you're gonna delegate, or you're gonna do it, and you're gonna go down the line. All right, you're gonna do it because delegate, someone else is gonna do it. You're gonna pay them. Great. The do it part, you're gonna tell me what gets in your way. Why don't you do it? Why don't I know my numbers? Oh, I'm not good at Excel. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this. And then you go down the line. Why aren't you doing it? And be honest. Like, don't be like, sometimes I don't feel like it. That's not an answer. Like, why don't you actually do it? Ask your spouse the answers. He or she'll probably know it. So need a little help, ask them. And then where can you learn that skill? You need to know Excel. How do you do it? $10 says there's 80 free YouTube videos on how to do basic accounting on Excel.
Right.
I'm not really good at I don't understand Facebook ads. $10 says that Facebook literally has a 6-hour video series on how to do it. So then why aren't you doing it? And then where can you learn it? Then you prioritize that. What is really killing your business and what's like, good for me, Facebook ads can wait. My business is not dependent on that. But having Ryan, do you write out a blog calendar of all the things you're going to post this month? No, I kind of do it by the seat of my pants. Oh, that's a terrible plan. So why don't I do it? It doesn't sound fun, and I think it kills my creativity. Does it kill your creativity? Can it help? Have you tried it? And then you kind of have this little psych session with yourself. And now you've got some great answers, and you've got ways to now improve your business. The other thing I would say is, where are people learning how to do this who do my job? Is there an organization? For me, it's Fizzle. They do their online entrepreneur training organization, Fizzle.co. Phenomenal. If you do show notes for this, I'll send you that link. They offer structure, they offer instruction, and they offer great comedy. I love all those things. So
yeah.
That's what I would say.
Cool. So talk to us about what you have coming up in terms of products or services or things that can benefit people. And then, of course, tell everybody where they can find you.
You got it. So I'm starting Ryan Talks Take 2. I'm launching a course in the 3rd week of October called Superhero Productivity, where I teach adults with ADHD how to use their ADHD to be more productive, and using their skills and being inattentive, being impulsive, being hyperactive to be much more productive. And it's not I want you to be productive like the non-ADHD people. I want you to be productive like we need to be. Because our brains are actually different. And if I tried to teach a falcon how to be a rabbit, that would be a terrible thing. I'm going to teach us falcons how to fly faster and fly better. And you can find out about that course. And I publish emails about how to be productive every week. My most recent one was how Netflix makes me more productive. There's a blog there, and you can find it I'm at the ADHDnerd.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter. You'll find out about the launch. I'm going to I'll let everybody know about this on there. And I publish some fun stuff. It's fun. So sometimes it's a bit goofy, but I think we need that. I think dry productivity stuff can be really boring, and our ADHD shorts out on that.
No, and I think and I try to be careful in the book that, I understand ADHD is, it's tough for some people. I mean, just like anything, some people have more symptoms than others. But I think at the end of the day, if we just kind of look at it that way and say, all right, I am who I am. I'm gonna have fun with my life. Yeah, I've got a couple challenges, and but people like yourself and other people and coaches that we talk to can kind of help us figure out our life and find where we fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Well, thank you, sir. again, Overcoming Distractions comes out November 1st. Ryan, the ADHD nerd, is in it. He gives some great tips for productivity, some of the things we talked about today, and some other tips, as well as you'll learn a little bit more about his story. So, Ryan, thank you so much, and we'll be chatting soon.
You're welcome, David. Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. Thanks.